The flavors of Italy are all around us, from the corner store to the restaurant down the street. The great spirit of Italian kitchens is easily found too. Embrace it and see what happens. Let me share a secret recipe. Discover an ingredient that fires your imagination. Choose other flavors to match. Find the best way to cook them. My secret recipe? Cooking without a recipe. Our dining club friends are coming over later, and since we're hosting, I got to pick the theme, Italy. Perfect, since Italian food is so easy to share and celebrate. So I know where I'm headed, but I'm not quite sure how I'm going to get there yet. Authentic Italian cooking is more about the ingredients and the spirit of the meal than it is about any particular recipe. Because you can make a great Italian meal with whatever you feel like bringing to your table. So as far as I can tell, all you really need are your friends, some wine, and some pasta, maybe a meaty penne. A pasta's best friend is a tomato, and a cook's best friend is a tomato sauce, because it's not a recipe thing, it's an ingredient thing. I call it free flow cooking, and you can do it too. Try leaving your cookbooks up on the shelf, then gather together a pile of ingredients that look great together, and then get cooking. It really is that simple. A great pasta sauce has three simple parts: a base of some kind, some aromatics like onions, garlic, or even herbs, and some garnishes, the extras. Perfect. Some bell peppers and chicken thighs. Why not? A tiny splash of oil is more than enough to help keep the chicken from sticking. Now, you really don't have to preheat a pot to brown chicken thighs, because really, no matter what you do, they're going to stick for a little while. But that's okay, because if they're sticking, they're giving you a clue. Don't flip me over yet. I'm not ready to go. When they're ready to flip, they're also nice and brown. Now, while those wait, let's get these veggies ready. Now, of course, in Italian cooking, there's no such thing as too much garlic. I'm going to use the whole head. Now, peppers are a fairly soft vegetable, so I don't want to cut this into tiny, tiny pieces because they'll just dissolve away into the sauce. I want to show this off, so I'll just cut it into big pieces. Sounds like those are ready to flip. And look, they're not sticking. Perfect. It really does work. As soon as they get nice and brown, they release from the pan and they're easily flippable. I want to brown these onions too, so it's actually time to take that chicken out. See all those little brownie bits? That's flavor, but let's get rid of the fat. But not all the fat. I am going to need a little bit to brown the onions. And now is the ideal time to add the garlic, because if I had added it with the onions, I would have burnt the garlic while the onions brown. And as soon as you can smell the garlic, it's time to move on. Amarone, my all-time favorite red wine. The party has started. It's time to add everything to that pot. And the peppers. And the tomatoes. Tomato paste is a great way to add tomato flavor to any dish. Now, salt and pepper is very popular in Italy, too. Now, after an hour or so of simmering, all these flavors are going to come together into a beautiful, rich pasta sauce. But I do want to keep all that flavor in the pot. And in essence, I'm braising those chicken thighs, so a lid is required. So I've got a beautiful pasta sauce, but what else can I bring to this party? Every few weeks, Rachel and I get together with a group of our friends, our dining club. Well, tonight we're hosting Italian night at our place. One of the best things about Italian cooking is that you don't need a recipe to stir a great-looking pile of ingredients together, any more than you need an invitation to throw a dinner party for your friends. Tonight's Italian spread will feature a simple, flavorful pasta. The sauce has a flavor base of tomatoes, red wine, and chicken. It's aromatized with onions and garlic, and it's garnished with peppers. Some flavors just go together naturally. Now, even though tomatoes originally came from North America, Italians have them in their blood, but not just in their pasta sauces, because tomatoes are great with other vegetables too. Especially when eggplant comes to the party. Put these two together, and we're talking Mediterranean ratatouille. And with that in mind, olive oil, onions, garlic, and bell pepper should all get invitations to the party. Now, browning onions definitely adds flavor to them, but you know, in my kitchen, there are no rules. I don't have to wait for those onions, because the true essence of ratatouille is the inevitable goodness of simmering eggplant and tomatoes together, and garlic. Okay, it's time to add some color to this party. Now for the eggplant. Now this really is just a simple vegetable stew, and like any stew, now's a great time to add some more aromatic flavor with some herbs, but not fresh herbs. Dried oregano. This'll perk up in that stew. I actually prefer the flavor of dried oregano to fresh oregano. I find it more intense. Of course, I still need some salt and some pepper. This stove is filling up nicely with Italian flavors, and my friends are all bringing dishes too, which is cool, because I've got a special treat waiting when they get here, something I've been meaning to try. Fruit and Fizz. This is my homemade raspberry syrup, perfect for making homemade Italian soda. Just add bubbles. For a brightly flavored fruit syrup that you'll be proud to call your own, simply begin with a few handfuls of red raspberries. You may also use strawberries or blueberries, and it's okay if they're frozen. Toss the fruit into a pot with a few spoonfuls of sugar and a few splashes of apple juice. Enough to add flavor, but not enough to cover the berries. Bring the works to a simmer and continue cooking until the liquid level drops by half. Once the flavors have concentrated, puree the mixture and strain out the seeds. Simply refrigerate until Tootie calls. A splash of raspberry syrup, topped up with standard issue club soda. And I should have a nice Italian-inspired treat. Oh man, that raspberry's awesome. That's gonna do just fine, especially if someone just happens to pour Italian sparkling wine into their glass. Tonight our dinner party gang's coming over for Italian night. Just for kicks, we share theme dinners in each other's kitchens on a regular basis. But it always seems that no matter where we go food-wise, everybody always ends up in the kitchen with a glass of wine. We're having pasta with a tomato sauce flavored with chicken thighs and peppers, and ratatouille, Mediterranean vegetable stew with onions, garlic, tomatoes, eggplant, green peppers, and dried oregano. Now I can think of no better way to show off great tomatoes than in a tomato mozzarella salad, which is without a doubt the single most perfect dish I've ever eaten or cooked. But actually, you don't have to cook it, which is why it's one of the easiest dishes I've ever made too. This is what fresh mozzarella looks like before it's aged a bit. Now here's how you actually make the salad. Start by simply slicing the tomatoes as thinly as you can, and of course the better the tomatoes, the better the salad will taste. Okay, time for some cheese. Now here's a great place to show off that really special bottle of extra virgin olive oil that you've got gathering dust in the back of the cabinet. You know the one I mean? And with just a touch of salt and pepper, this salad is good to go. Now this is perfect just the way it is, but there's a couple of other flavors that I sometimes add to it. Some balsamic vinegar would be really nice here too. And of course some fresh basil. Hey, with Italian ingredients like this, you just can't go wrong. You don't have to jump on a plane to go to Italy. A stroll down the street to your local Italian grocer will do just fine. This is the kind of place where I go for inspiration. When I'm hungry for ideas or when I'm just looking for something special, it's a treat just walking through that door. Extra virgin olive oil, the fragrant, fruity oil that oozes out of ripe olives as they're picked. You can just taste the love and care that goes into these bottles. Prosciutto. It's not just ham, It's 1,000 years of artisanal tradition and authentic flavor in every single slice. Lightly salted, hung in the mountain air, this is what patience tastes like. True Italian Parmesan cheese. It's so good that it's revered like fine wine. And to preserve tradition, it can only be made in certain historical areas. This is an edible national treasure. Check out the nooks and crannies in your local Italian gourmet market and see what treasures you can find. And then take them home and share them with family and friends. That's the essence of Italy. This is rapini. It's actually very common in Italy. Here at home, though, it's sometimes called broccoli rabe, probably because it looks a little bit like broccoli. You know, now it's one of my favorite vegetables, but when I first met it, I didn't like it. The chef said, "Hey, cook some of this off for me," so I did, and then I tasted it. It was really bitter, so I thought I had ruined it. But then the chef tasted it, and he loved it. Turns out it is bitter. The key, though, is to balance that bitterness. Now, here's a simple way that you can do that. With a lemon and some butter. I'm gonna cook this rapini in butter, but not just any butter, brown butter. All I'm gonna do is wait until the butter melts, until the water in the butter cooks off, and the remaining fat starts to brown. And when that happens, this pan will be loaded with flavor. But at that point, I better be ready to stop the cooking because I don't want to make black butter. And to pull that off, I'm simply going to use some lemon juice. Okay, that pan's ready for some rapini. I'm just going to take a second and cut this into smaller pieces. And I'll put the stems down on the bottom where they'll tenderize easily. I'm going to add some salt and pepper to this. Now with just a splash of water and a tight-fitting lid, this is ready to start steaming. And in just a few minutes, I'll have a nice pan full of steamed bitter rapini. Boy, the stove is starting to fill up a bit. I barely have room left to put the pasta water on. This is shaping up to be quite an Italian party. We call ourselves a dining club, but really we're just a bunch of friends looking for any old excuse to break bread and try out some new flavors. Now tonight we may be in Italy in spirit, but this'll still be a good old maritime kitchen party in my backyard. Now I don't remember inviting chicken bones to this party. I better get those out of here. Now that chicken meat goes right back into the sauce. Now's the time to add herbs to this sauce because that way I'll preserve their nice bright flavor. But it really doesn't matter what herb you add as long as you add lots of it, which is why I'm going to add Italian flat leaf parsley. I love its bright green flavor. Time for some pasta. And of course, it's not a good idea to rinse pasta because you don't want to rinse off all the starch that clings to the surface. That starch will help it cling to the sauce. This looks amazing. I better do a little quality check. Ah, bellissimo. You know, you can fill your kitchen with the true spirit of Italy, too. Just relax and have fun. Pour yourself a glass of wine, share your food with family and friends, and before you know it, you'll be living La Dolce Vita. Stay.
Going wild.
Who would like some wine? Some
Ruth, take it
Amarone?
first.
Okay, now dig in.
Some lovely fresh organic salad greens with a nice fennel vinaigrette.
Who's never had rapini before? It's really good, but it's bitter. You know, it's kind of a grown-up dish.
Pass the olives to
Here's to the flavors of Italy, right here at home in the Maritimes.
Chin chin.
My lovely wife brought the salad.
Oh wait, that's got to be the best thing on the table right there. Bufala calabrese, anyone? It's fresh mozzarella. Let's have another toast.
Oh, good idea.
Good idea.
Here's to the spirit of friendship, whether we're in Italy or right here at home.
Cheers.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
So what are we cooking next month?
Mexican at our place.